This week, Drew and I interview Mike Bellody, founder of MLB Cigar Ventures. Mike believes the premium hand-rolled cigar industry is one of the very few remaining industries that has stayed true to the original time-tested techniques used since when cigars were first rolled. The history, craftsmanship, and quality associated with making truly awesome cigars remain unchanged through generations. The cigar lifestyle is filled with these traditions, and today we are certainly going to talk about some of them and probably a little bit of what's going on in this crazy world of ours as we're working from home. Mike's Cigars will always pay homage to the deeply entrenched tradition and history that they carry. Quality will never be a question when you smoke a cigar from MLB Cigar Ventures. Any cigar under his supervision will always be developed by legends. Visit MLBCigarVentures.com to find out more. Stogie Geeks episode 326 starts right now.
This is a Security Weekly production. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where cigars burn slow, ashes fall fast, and cocktails flow steady. It's the Stogie Geek Show. Welcome, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. Joe and I are already silly.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Hozempa, a.k.a. Joe Hollywood, is here with me in studio.
I'm fired up.
And
Plasencia Cigars, perfected for more than 150 years. Yours to enjoy now.
Havana Cigar Club, located in Warwick, Rhode Island, is a great place to enjoy a drink and a cigar. Stogie Geeks listeners can find a $5 off coupon on our website by clicking the HCC logo.
Welcome to Stogie Geeks episode 326. I'm your host, Joe Hozempa. Today, Drew and I get to interview Mike Bellody of MLB Cigar Ventures. We're catching up. I always get truly nostalgic when I speak to Mike. It's a privilege and an honor to always have him on the other end and be able to interview him and get his perspectives. And later on in the show, we are going to talk about the stick of the week, and this week's stick is the Plasencia Reserva Original Cortez, so you want to stay tuned for that. But before we introduce Mike, how's my little brown-haired kid from Texas doing?
What's up, brother?
What are you doing?
I'm growing a tumbleweed on top of my head, and I need to get this baby cut. So I got, haircuts. I actually shaved the beard a week and a half ago, just because it was just getting kind of crazy, itchy, and I couldn't get the thing lined up very well. So the way that went, but I'm already growing it back since they're telling us we're going to be able to get out and about here in about a couple weeks to resume, somewhat of a normal life as we knew it before COVID-19 struck us pretty hard. But other than that, man, doing well, and I'm looking forward to hearing you and Mike go back and forth about the past, the present, the future, and all these things that are coming up on this interview.
That's a great segue. That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. My stay-at-home problems, right, Drew? In regards to your hair, just throw some pomade with it, man, and let it go high. The higher the hair, the closer to God, kid. You know what I mean? So
right.
That's my advice to you. And now it is my privilege and honor to introduce Mike Bellody to the Stogie Geeks. How are you?
What's happening, JoJo? Hey, Drew, how are you?
Very well, Mike.
Mike,
I've never met Drew, but this is a new thing for me. Joe, you and I go back a ways, but Drew, this is new. I met a new friend today.
Yeah, when you come out to Texas, we'll definitely get together. When you're out here, the next time you're out, I got to get together with you and have a couple of drinks and of course some stogies.
Drew,
and I was just out there in early March 14th. I had an event in Fort Worth.
Yeah, you were at Underground, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's that. Mike's home away from home over there in Texas.
It really kind of is. I mean, It is.
I've gone for you Stogie Geeks that are listening and watching. Mike and I have gone back. Mike has actually one of my beginning sponsors that led me into Cigar Club Radio, which raised enough, I guess, awareness from Paul Azadorian to at least get a shot here at Stogie Geeks. And MLB Cigar Ventures was my original sponsor. It was Mike Bellody from MLB, and it was Brian LeBeau from Churchill's Smoke Shop and Lounge here in the Providence Metro, and Sean Bell from Quarry Brothers. And those were my first three sponsors that I got. So always, ironically, Mike, probably about like 3 or 4 weeks ago on Facebook, it was like an anniversary from like 6 years ago from when that started, and I tagged you in it and said thank you and all of that stuff. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, you did. That was very nice.
You know, and then throughout these 6 years, I just want to say, like honestly, like absolutely positively, thank you for taking a shot. I know it was like, yeah, I'm starting this radio show here in the Providence Metro, and you know, like, what's the audience? I'm like, I don't know, like 3 people or something like that. You know,
yeah. I can yell out my window and reach more. No,
you know, you know, and then it built up momentum, and then it went there, and
it did.
And you know, and also at that same time, you were getting more active here in the Northeast, and you were starting to build that brand of MLB Cigar Ventures there, and you know, just watching you grow, and then, you know, watching the line grow and all of that stuff. It's just been a super cool story. And I remember locally you coming here to the Province Metro and talking about this crazy shop down in Texas called the Underground. And it was funny because
there's nothing like it.
I'm sure, right? And with Drew being a co-host of Stogie Geeks, I'm like, do you live near Underground? Like, you know, because I haven't been to Texas, and I don't know.
He's like 15 minutes from there or so, right?
That's correct. Yep.
You know, and he's like, oh,
you go there, right, Drew?
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there for a few events with the Cigar for Warriors with Ben Storm, and
sure.
Been down there with a couple of cigar happenings with Rojas and all them guys. So yeah,
sure.
Nice place, nice hole in the. I love it. I mean, it's just, I like the veterans that go there. I like everybody there is very hospitable. I mean, the hospitality there is just tremendous.
Listen, it's the only cigar shop. I've gone to a lot of cigar shops. It's the only cigar shop I know of that's surrounded by fence and razor wire. That you got to love it.
I was going there. I was saying, I remember you giving the intro, and I'm like, this place sounds like a destination place. I got to get myself down there. I am and do have plans to go visit Drew and to parade around Texas and have him show me and my family around and all of that stuff. That's one of our trips that we were scheduled to take in 2020. I'm hoping that can still happen. So I will be at the Underground.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We're ready for Joe. We're ready for Joe Zimpa in Texas.
Yeah, be careful what you ask for, Drew.
I'm just
saying, just be careful what you ask for.
Sometimes you just need a break from Joe. Sometimes, I don't know. I find that with some people in my life, you know. But Mike, want to talk about MLB Cigar Ventures? You've done a bunch of stuff. Why don't you bring the Stogie Geeks up to date as to like not really how you got started, but like the story of what you were trying to do and the type of brands and blends that you're trying to create, so that the Stogie Geeks can kind of call around and try to get some of these sticks in their hands.
Yeah, so I sort of got into the cigar industry by accident back in 2011. My background's in investment management and the finance industry, and I still have I'm still involved to some degree there, but as well, I've never totally left that industry. But you know, I got to know some folks in the industry because I was an avid cigar smoker. I got to know a lot of the cigar makers, the bigger names in the industry, and one of the families I became friendly with was the Tiant family, Louis Tiant, and his son, who had a cigar company called El Tiante Cigars. I got involved with them and basically owned half that company. We reblended the cigars with Don Pepin Garcia at My Father Cigars, released 2 blends. They were going exceptionally well. And as with a lot of partnerships, that partnership didn't work out. So I decided to start my own company in 2013. And the reason I did that really is simple. By the time we got to 2013, I had enough relationships with enough retailers, certainly in the New England area, so that it just made sense for me to come out with a cigar. I knew I could get it into a lot of stores in New England, and it would get some traction. So I started my own company, blended a cigar called Imperia. That's the one, for those of you that know my cigars, that has the sort of aqua blue label and band on it. And I did that with Manuel Quesada, who's another legend in the industry, and released that in 2014. Only really distributed it at the time in the New England area. And then in 2015, I went to the trade show that what was then called IPCPR, is now called the PCA. And in 2015, I went to New Orleans, where they had the trade show. And I went there really to more or less get my name out there again nationally, and also to meet some sales reps and try to get some sales reps around the country that might be willing to sell my line of cigars. Was able to get a couple of reps to join my team, and one was in the Southeast, and I started to get a lot of traction in Atlanta and Tennessee and other parts of the Southeast. And then from there, I decided to go to Texas, and I started to get some traction there. And then I just kind of went nationwide at that point. I now have 5 blends of cigars. 3 are under the Imperia brand, and those are all made at Quesada. And then I have 2 that are under the David P. Ehrlich brand name, and those are both of those blends are made with Ernesto Perez Carrillo. So I've been really fortunate to, for a guy that was never in the industry, didn't have any experience, a gringo from Wall Street, got into the industry and made cigars with 3 of the inaugural members of the Cigar Aficionado Hall of Fame. Don Pepin Garcia first, and Manuel Quesada and Ernesto Perez Carrillo are all in the CA Hall of Fame. And they're all legends. So I've been able to learn a lot from all of them. And they all do things similarly in a lot of respects, but they have their own little nuances about how they cure their tobacco differently, or they have different philosophies on how to blend cigars. And I've been able to take all of that and really grow personally as a better cigar blender because of it. And I owe it all to them.
That's super cool. And socially, you're an awesome guy to pitch some business ideas off of as well, especially being a Wall Street guy. And I remember starting, I guess you could say starting in this industry, meaning, trying to go out there and solicit radio sponsors and doing that there, and and just just kind of watching you, and then watching the brand grow, and then when you started traveling elsewhere and then doing that, it was super cool. Right. Fast forward now, I mean, obviously being on Stogie Geeks, listeners love to kind of find out, like, post this COVID-19, which I'm sure that we are certainly going to talk about today. I mean, you can't not working from home, right? But, like, what's the future entail? Like, you got some future blends coming up. Are you kind of laying low a little bit, and has COVID kind of changed your goals for 2020? Because there's a lot of industry that is either saying, well, this is a time for us to come back and get creative as we can, work from home on different projects or whatever, or some of them are just still trying to secure cabin pressure and get through this.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, so as far as the future holds, I'm always working on new things. I haven't released a new cigar since 2018. That was when I did the PLM series. So it's been 2 years. I'm smoking right now, actually, a test blend that I've had for a while. It's actually a blend that I still need to do some work on. But this one was done with Aganorsa. And I've done a few other sort of small projects with Aganorsa so far, and I'm working on some bigger things with them. So I will continue to innovate and bring out new cigars. I hope to have a new line of cigars out at some point this year. The reality of the situation, though, is with COVID-19 and basically what has become a worldwide shutdown from an economic standpoint. it's really hard to gauge what that's going to mean for these retailers on the other side of it, right? No doubt that a bunch of them aren't going to make it, and that's sad. There's no doubt that the ones that make it, a lot of those are going to be strapped cash-wise. And then there's only going to be a small group of these retailers that have significant deep pockets by which to get their business really rolling again. But most of these retailers around the country are really just mom and pop shops. You know, they're not. These aren't rich people. They don't have deep pockets. It's how they support their family, and you know, this shutdown has really hurt them big time. So it's hard to say whether it's going to be an appropriate time to actually do something really big on a big scale, because I'm not sure that there's the deep pockets out there to support a lot of that. That being said, when we're on the other side of this thing, and I've reached out to a bunch of my retailers, and I think that most of them know this intuitively about me anyways, I will do anything I can to help them out. And I don't really know what that means yet. So you know, and it might mean something different for each retailer. If that means that I've got to get them product at a deeply discounted price, that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
If it means I've got to give them longer terms by which to pay me, that's what I'm going to do. Because in times like this, we have to do everything we can to support the folks that support us. And without B&M retailers, without brick and mortar retailers, without those mom and pop shops, the industry legitimately dies. Because they're the lifeblood, they're the foundation of the industry. Nobody starts smoking cigars by going online and ordering cigars. Doesn't happen like that. It's more of a community thing. You walk into a place like an Underground, or like a Churchill's Lounge, or like a White Ash or Boulevard, or I'm just randomly, you know, Stogie's in Houston. You walk into these places and you make connections with people. Or somebody that you know is an avid cigar smoker. They say, "Hey, why don't we go have a cigar?" And you go there and you try it. You fall in love with the community and the lifestyle, and then you begin smoking cigars. If we lose that, then we lose the industry. We can't lose that.
Yeah, I agree. And you're gonna, with COVID and where the businesses are going, it's like you're kind of stuck in the middle, right? You have a creative process, you have a product, it'll have a label on it, you have costs associated with that, there's a profit margin, you know, there's different business line items that you have to go through, but yet without the brick and mortars who want to bring in the product there, it's like everything from a global standpoint is just stopped. And when that happens, you know, time still ticks, right? So it could be a year or two or three, right? I'm being very pessimistic when I say three, but it could really be like the rest of 2020 before we start seeing a creative process. And that's going to affect, obviously, conferences that were on your schedule that you've already missed, or different cigar events that now can't do more than 10, 15 people as they even raise restrictions through phase one, right? You know, so it's not like, okay, you know, May something or other, every town's going to go back to a phase 1, 2, and 3. But in phase 1 and 2, we're still talking people under 20, crowds of 20, which that doesn't really do it for you, right? It doesn't do it for the retailer, and it certainly doesn't do it for the retailer, whether it's MLB Cigar Ventures or any other blend. It's just that there's no easement. And when I look at when can we get back to the trust factor of having 70 people in a room smoking cigars, enjoying a debut of a product, that could very well be spring of next year, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have some pretty definite opinions about how we've reacted to COVID-19, but
it's ridiculous.
We don't have to get into.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a difference between when we should feel comfortable with it and when the government's going to allow us to do it, right? So I think we're a long way off from being able to go back to life as usual as it was pre-COVID-19. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. I think we'll start to open things up. We'll be able to have small gatherings. But if you think that in that the opening weekend of the NFL season is going to have 68,000 people sitting shoulder to shoulder in a stadium, you're wrong. It's not going to happen. It's not happening. If you think that if the NBA decides to play through the summer and finish their season, they're going to have sellout crowds during the playoffs, you're wrong. It's not going to happen. They're not doing it.
Right.
Even if they think that they can, they're not going to do it for a while because they're going to be worried about the liability, the legal ramifications if something happens to somebody. Imagine if you're at Gillette Stadium and watching the Patriots play the Giants and they allow 68,000 people there and someone catches COVID and dies. There's going to, you're talking a major lawsuit. I mean, it's not happening. It's just not happening. I think that what we're doing right now, with all of us sitting in a confined area with no one around us. I'm at my house in my cigar room. I see Drew was in his backyard, I think, and Joe, I don't know where you're at, but you're somewhere, and there's no one around us, right? But this medium, this Zoom and other WebEx and Google Hangouts and all of these different services that allow us to do this are not going away. I think businesses have forever transformed to be able to allow conference rooms are going to be a thing of the past in a lot of ways in offices. This is going to be the conference room. There's also a lot of businesses that have 4 or 5 floors in a high-rise building in downtown Boston that may have just determined because they were forced to use teleconferencing like this. They've been able to learn. Forced to learn that it actually works pretty well. And now they don't need 4 or 5 floors. They can get away with 2 floors and they can tell everyone else you work from home. Right. So I think all of that's going to happen. I think that, and I don't think it's going away. I see an opportunity in the cigar industry by using these types of video conferencing services, whether it be Zoom, WebEx, Google Hangouts, whatever, to do even actually more events, just not in person. I've been on several just sort of random herfs that various cigar shops have organized. I think there will be one tonight that I'm going to try to get on because it's one of my favorite places to go in Washington State, and they've been hit pretty hard out there. So I'm probably going to go on that if they do it tonight. And I've been on probably 30 of these since this thing has happened, and they're actually pretty awesome. They're actually really awesome. In fact, I think that the customers of the stores love them. So I can see a scenario whereby a store like a Churchill's Lounge in East Providence decides, we can't get Skip Martin here from Roma Craft, but maybe he can go on a Zoom meeting, interact with our customers virtually. We'll do an event order. We'll run promotions. He'll send us the swag, and I could be doing, an event in Tacoma, Washington tonight, and then tomorrow I could be doing an event in Boston, Massachusetts, right? Because I'm just doing it like this. So I think there's an opportunity here to utilize this to our advantage going forward, so we can actually reach our customers, reach the smokers a lot more frequently. And I can tell you, with whether or not that happens where stores do events, there's zero doubt in my mind that I'm going to be running sort of virtual herfs, where I organize them and invite people to come in and do a Zoom meeting like this and get 100 people on a Zoom conference and just hang out, talk, smoke cigars. And it's almost like a big event. And I think it opens up a tremendous opportunity in terms of brand building as well.
I 100% agree with the creativity factor has to rise, right? Because we're all forced to do that. I've been doing this type of teleconferencing work since 2017. So working with my day job over at Security Weekly, I've been doing this. So this is kind of business as usual there. I've been saying that the cigar industry on Stogie Geeks, I've been saying cigar industry needs some sort of creativity other than buy 3, get 1 and complain about the FDA, right? I've been saying, right. So this is a great creativity factor. Interesting to what the effects would be from the podcast standpoint, right? So now, like how a podcast now going to differentiate themselves from a virtual herf or an interview such as Stogie Geeks or another cigar podcast versus that there. But it's also allowing people to engage in a more creative process to discuss business. And I also think that, I don't know, when you're not at an event and not that events are boring, some of them can be lively and fun and with drinking and being with friends and all of that stuff. But this, it's kind of like a different business mindset as well. Like you said, if you're going to do a virtual HERF, now you have a chance to speak to a group versus if you were in a room of 100 people or so, you don't get a chance to go and talk to someone or kind of get your message out there. So I think it's super cool.
Yeah, I think I've loved it, actually. I'm telling you, I've been on a million of them, and I was on one last night till, too late and had too many drinks. But it happens. I mean, I'm at my house. I'm not driving anywhere. But so, I was on one last night, and they're really awesome. I mean, you really get to connect with cigar smokers that you may have never met before, because the one time you're doing an event at their store of choice, they can't make it.
Yep.
Right. But so it gives, if I can get on even when I'm on the road, imagine if I'm traveling and I'm at the underground doing an event, I can, on a night that I'm not doing an event, I can log in, and organize a quick HERF and get 20 people in a room, 30 people, 50 people, however many join, and interact and brand build directly with customers, run a contest, give away some swag. There's a lot of creative things we can do that will allow us to have more touches with our customers, that's what business is all about, in my opinion. When you're in the business of sales, and let's be honest, that's what the cigar industry is. We need to connect with our customers, and the more we can connect with them, the more often we can, the better our product will do with the end user, and it will drive sales through the retailers.
Yep, absolutely. Plus, if they get a chance to have a one-on-one with you, even though there's other people in the room, but they might not have had that opportunity if they were in a social setting as well. I think the podcast, or the video blogs, or however you want to categorize us, I think now we need to up our creativity factor and keep our listeners engaged, because now something like this here has become the norm. I mean, I've gotten invited to a bunch of virtual HERFs, and I've been to some, and I can't get to all of them. I got to work, right? But some people, some people, have it depends on where they are in their hunker down phase, or what their social life looks like and stuff like that. But from your perspective, yeah, because now you can be in multiple places at once, for sure. I think it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be a great creative process to see that ongoing, even post COVID-19. I said a couple of weeks ago when we started these discussions, about like what we're going to do. It's like COVID-19, like it's kind of going to remind me of like 9/11, and we're still dealing with the TSA. And what I mean by that is like 19 years. What are we? 19 years later? No, yeah, almost 19 years later. We're still dealing with TSA, which has come out of that era. And so 10 years later, this could be the new norm for the industry, and then whatever other technology takes place.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think that in on-site events are going away, right? I just don't see it. I think that they'll be here to stay. That being said, this really gives us an opportunity to do more. We can do the same number of on-site events that we normally do, but then also do these virtual events, if you will, in addition to that. So from that standpoint, I think it can be a very efficient use and creative use of time, and allow us to touch more people. And there's also, I mean, let's be honest, it costs a lot of money for me to travel, right? So I know roughly that it costs me between $300 and $400 a day when I'm on the road. That's my cost. That includes, when you add in the flights, the hotels, the food, beverages, whatever. It's $300 to $400 a day, depending on where I'm traveling. That's what it ends up being. So if that's the case, in order for me to go and travel somewhere, I need support from the retailers. They have to pay for enough of my cigars. They have to place a large enough event order for it to make sense for me to travel.
Right.
There are retailers that I really love, but I can't give them an event because they're just not big enough for me to take a day and go to that retailer. So so this is a way I could support them as well, right? And so it doesn't cost me anything to set up a Zoom meeting. So now the buy-in could be it could be less, right? So I can actually reach retailers that I may never have been able to do an event at before, that I can do now because the cost of doing this is nothing.
Gotcha.
Right? So versus $400 a day to travel.
Right.
So it actually allows us to support better the small and medium-sized accounts that can't put in the event order to get us to show up in person. Because I'd like to visit all my stores, but at the end of the day, it's a business, right? I mean, I only have so many days in a year. I only have so many days in a year that I can do events. So I have to do those events at the retailers that have earned those events, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But I can do these for anybody, and I can support them, and I can be creative, and then maybe they become one of those larger retailers because they see how I interact with their customers and build relationships, and then all of a sudden now they're one of the top retailers, and I can go out and do an event for them.
Absolutely. Drew, you have a question?
No, what I was gonna.
You always say no, and then you have a question. I love it.
No, I don't have a question. What I was gonna add to what Mike was just saying was that, I talk to my local guys around here. I have my home cigar lounge over here, and then I have Mike's Cigars. I have quite a few cigar lounges around me, and I've told them, I said, just speaking to them one-on-one, I said, what would do you guys some good marketing is just develop a channel, whether it be on YouTube, Facebook, for your cigar lounge. Develop a channel for yourself. Talk about a cigar you have that just reached your brick and mortar shop, and talk about it. And maybe have a guest on via Zoom or Skype with one of your members, your lounge members, and just talk about the cigar in itself, and just have that camaraderie still with all the masses that are out there who are tuning into your channel. I think that'd be a great asset for them going forward. That was my add to this conversation.
Nice. There you go. I agree. Mike, what?
Yes, sir.
I have a question. I've never asked you this there. And
oh boy.
And no, it's
is this a question you've never asked me? I can't even imagine what's about to happen.
No, it's not. No, it's. I don't know. Like you look at cigars as a business, right? I look at Stogie Geeks and it's a business. It's got its goal. It's got its purpose. It's got its audience. It's got its sponsors. It's doing its thing. Okay. But like at the end of the day, Drew and I have to get up on a Friday and do Stogie Geeks and doing that there. And so I guess I guess my question is like, what kind of like I'm just going to come out and say it. Like what kind of romances your decision to want to push yourself to produce another blend or to continue with MLB and fly and travel and all of that stuff? Like what's the kind of romantic desire behind that there, because you have to you have to be motivated in business, and you have to enjoy your product. I love being the host of Stogie Geeks. I love Stogie Geeks. I love the idea of our interviews. I love the candidness of our interviews, and that's kind of like been our style over the past couple of years here. It's but like I can answer that question for me, like why I like it and where I'm going, or where Drew and I are going. But like, what about you? Like what kind of like you wake up and when you do MLB Cigar Ventures stuff, like what really makes you and drives you to kind of move on? Because in these times you could easily say, something, I'm not going to make a cigar for 2 years and just ride the wave, take orders, do what I got to do, have my sales reps on the road and kind of see where it goes. But it doesn't sound like you're like me. You're not going to sit on your hands and just take it.
Yeah, right. I mean, I look. I think there's an old saying that about the cigar industry that says if you want to leave the cigar industry a millionaire, you have to start a multimillionaire, right? So you don't get into the industry starting a boutique cigar company now because you think you're going to become rich from it. That's not what it is. It's that doesn't mean you can't become rich from it. It just means it's very unlikely and it's very difficult and it's a long road. Even folks that have made it in the cigar industry, if you think about some of the more successful cigar companies, the Rocky Patels of the world, Drew Estates, they started in the 90s during a boom. But they also, like Rocky was a very successful entertainment lawyer before. So he went in with I don't know how much money he had, but I'm assuming he had a lot of money. You have, Christoph. Glenn Case was in the finance industry. I'm sure he went in and he wasn't worried about his next meal. I mean, he had backing, financial backing to go in and ride out the first 3, 4, 5 years to get to the point where you can have enough market share to make it worthwhile, right? But so you don't get into this industry because you want to get rich. You get into this industry because you love the industry, because you love the lifestyle of smoking cigars and the camaraderie, and you love creating. And so that's why I got in the industry initially. Is I got in because I had an opportunity to take over half of a company that was already in the industry, very small at the time, and I did that. And I did it because I love cigars and I love the lifestyle. And I was a member at Cigar Masters and at Churchill's Lounge in Boston. And I had several, cigar lockers all over the place. And I truly enjoyed it. When I had free time on my hands, I would always go to a cigar lounge, right? Then I got into the industry and I fell in love with the process of actually creating a new blend. And then I've always been a sort of a serial entrepreneur. And MLB Cigars is not the only business I'm involved in. I've got plenty of other businesses that I'm involved in as an investor and or as a consultant or both. And so I have I've always loved building businesses and building things, and maybe that's my Wall Street mindset, is that it's all about reaching goals, running businesses efficiently, things like that. And so I think that's helped me along the way. What drives me now is, I love the industry. But again, it's a labor of love. It's not a job you want to take because you're going to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's similar. It's similar to my take. Like I absolutely find the process of rolling the cigars, or they're in a factory and the creative process in there. But I also like the lifestyle. You get to go down to a lounge and hang out and meet some friends, and I mean, you have friends, really friends for life. I mean, and it's just an ongoing series of events that keeps pulling me back and has me say like, oh wow, like it's just so super cool, and yeah. I love when a new company comes out and they're creative, and I love to hear their marketing story and the meanings behind the labels and all of that stuff, and it really is a labor of love. You really hit the nail on the head.
No doubt. And another piece of that is, if I had $1 for everybody that told me that you can't make it in the cigar industry anymore, you can't start a company and have it be successful anymore, those days are over. It can't be done. When I hear that I hear I'm going to prove them wrong. That's the way I'm a very competitive person. So when somebody says it can't be done, what are you doing? You're crazy. Don't do this. You're going to waste a lot of time and money and all this stuff. And believe me, and by the way, if someone comes to me now and asks me about getting into this, I go, listen, you just want to think twice about this. Think 3 times, 5 times. And you have to be well financed. You have to have the financial ability to literally pump money in for the first 4 or 5 years. You just have to, or else forget it. So that's one of the reasons that I decided to start my own company after the first partnership didn't work out. But on top of that, going back to what you just said and hanging out at the lounges and so forth, cigars are the great unifier. I can sit in Churchill's Lounge or I go to the underground, and I love those guys. I mean, I do. They do a lot of business with me, and I love them personally. You know, I talk with them. I interact with a lot of the customers regularly, not just when we're doing events. But I walk in there, and I'm not dressed like that today, Joe. But you know me. I dress like I'll have a nice blazer on or a jacket, and you know.
And your little scarf, not scarf. What is that called?
Pocket square. I got a pocket square. You know.
Yeah.
So I dress a certain way when I'm out in public doing things. I'm at home, and there's not a lot of dry cleaners around, so I'm down to like shirts I haven't worn in 5 years. But but you know, I walk into the underground the way I walk in everywhere: jacket, pocket square, and when I walk in like that, I stick out like a sore thumb there. But it doesn't matter. We're all the same. You can have a multimillionaire or a billionaire sitting here, and you can have a guy who just got out of college and just likes to smoke a cigar once in a while, doesn't have a lot of money, but he wants to enjoy the camaraderie here. And you have everything in between, and it brings us together, and we're all the same, right? Mm-hmm. So it's an incredible unifier. I can't tell you how many times I've walked down the street smoking a cigar, and someone randomly says, "Hey, where'd you get that cigar? What are you smoking?" I don't know these people, but it's the cigar. They want to know about the cigar. What are you smoking? And then I'll tell them, and and all of that stuff. So it is a tremendous unifier. It's a tremendous lifestyle. It's about the lifestyle more than it is the cigar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's it's like the story on how I met Drew. It's like, it was weird, right? It was like I was talking about Bloody Marys, which I always pair a cigar with Bloody Marys when I'm in studio, right? And and then so Drew just started tagging me in, "Hey, I'm having a Bloody Mary and a cigar, blah blah." And then like we're like, now we were in the process of this year organizing a trip for me to actually get down and meet him and do that. And then in the process he came on as a co-host. It's like, you just meet so many cool people because of cigars. It's like my
no
list
doubt.
goes on. It's crazy. And if my list goes on, your list must be even bigger, because you branch out and you actually have a blend, as opposed to just a podcast.
It's amazing. One of the I've always had a mental block when it comes to remembering people's names all my life. I don't know why. But I never forget a face. Mm-hmm. So I'll be doing an event somewhere, and someone will come up and say, "Hey, Mike, how you doing? I mean, I haven't seen you in a year," or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh shit, I don't know this guy's name." I'm like, so but then I'll figure it out after a little while, or So I always feel bad about that. But I meet so many people. I meet so many great people, and a lot of them I consider very close friends of mine at this point. We have a great connection because of this. It's really quite awesome.
Mm-hmm. Keeping things on an awesome note before we break off and start talking COVID and stuff like that. What goes on in your head when you're creating a blend, right? Because obviously it's, you have to think of, if I like the taste, sure. Would my consumers like the taste? Like, what goes on? Like you said, you're smoking a test blend. Like, take us through that creative process as to like what you aim for in each of your smokes.
So my blending process has changed dramatically over the years. When I first got in this industry, I didn't know how to get out of my own way when it came to blending a cigar. Right? I was a cigar lover, but to blend a cigar, just because you love cigars doesn't mean you know how to blend the cigars. I love wine, but I can't make wine either, right? I love to eat great food, but I'm a terrible cook. So I had no knowledge really of how to properly blend a cigar, or even the process really that you went through to do it. So when we went down to My Father's Cigars to blend the first two blends I ever did, which were the El Tiante cigars, the Rosado and the Oscuro, I learned I was really there as a student, listening to a master, Don Pepin Garcia, talk about how we're going to blend the cigars, and Jaime was involved. And at the time, there was a gentleman named John Gonzalez who, I think he's still in the industry with somebody new now, but he's been at a few different places since. But these people actually took us in and really, I learned a lot from it. So the way we blended that cigar is we basically went down and I said to the master, Don Pepino, I said, I want a cigar that tastes like this. Right? These are the characteristics I want. And then he made it. And nailed it pretty quickly, by the way. So he really blended that cigar with my approval. If that's I didn't really go in and say, I want to use this binder, this filler, and this wrapper, and let's put it together and let's see how it goes. It was, I want a cigar that tastes like this. It has these characteristics. Can you make it? He made it. I approved it. It was a great cigar. So then fast forward, a couple of years later, I start my own company. I'm down at the Quesada Cigars factory in Santiago, Dominican Republic. I'm sitting in Manuel Quesada's office, and I'm actually now pinching myself because I'm now sitting down talking about blending a cigar with the second cigar legend that I worked with in the industry. And I'm thinking, why am I getting this opportunity, right? So I sit there and I said, well, it was sort of a hybrid. I said, I want a cigar that meets these characteristics. And I said, educate me on what tobaccos you have readily available and or can get easily so that we can accomplish that. And then he said, well, we have this and this and this, and let me show you this. And we put our heads together and we came up with the Imperia blend. And then I did, the next year I did the East Laurel. And that blending process was actually an interesting one because I actually had something in my head. I went and worked with them. I said, I want to use this. I had a particular wrapper I wanted to use. And they sent me test blends. They weren't working. And they finally said, you need to fly down here. We need to sit here and do this in the factory. So I flew down to Santiago. I walk into their conference room, and in their conference room is a tray with 4 different test blends, clearly none of which had the wrapper that I asked them to use. So I said to Hostos Quesada, who was running the factory at that time for Quesada Cigars, I said, Hostos, are those my cigars? He goes, yep. I go, it's the wrong wrapper. He goes, we couldn't make the cigar you wanted to make using that wrapper. Try these and tell us what you think. And at the time when I wanted to use that other wrapper, I was actually blending the cigar that became the Aventador. And then I smoked this one and I said, okay, we're on to something. We tweaked it a little bit. And I said, we're going to put the Aventador on the back burner. We're going to release the East Laurel because the East Laurel always in my head was going to be a stronger cigar. And that's what these were. So I came out with the East Laurel really by accident. I mean, I wasn't even working on that. And then I went back and did the Aventador with a completely different wrapper than I originally wanted to use. So now fast forward to making the Ehrlich blends. The original Ehrlich is a mostly Nicaraguan blend with a Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper and a touch of Dominican tobaccos in the filler from the La Canela region for balance. And that cigar is kind of the spiciest of my cigars, if that makes sense. It's a little bit peppery, really unique cigar. And then I wanted to make the PLM. So I'm working with Ernesto Carrillo on the PLM series, which is by far my most successful release I've had. And so I make the PLM and I'm blending it with him and he's sending me test blends and they're not working. And this is a blend where I'm saying, well, let's try this. And he goes, well, no, let's try this. And 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 blends, they're not working. So finally I said to him, I said, I have an idea. I think we're overthinking this and making this more complicated than it needs to be. Take the original Ehrlich blend and switch the wrapper to a San Andreas Maduro. That's all I want you to do. And he goes, He goes, we could try it. And he wasn't really confident, or at least he didn't sound confident at the time.
Sure.
So he gets me the test blends, and it was really great cigar. And we just did some minor tweaks to the ratio in the filler tobaccos, and that became the PLM, which is by far my most successful release. These days, I have more to do with the blending than I ever did, but I still don't ignore the experts, right? These folks, the folks like I'm working with Aganorsa on a few things right now. They know more about tobacco than I'll ever know. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to listen to them. I mean, they are going to guide me, but I will have more input on the blends than I used to have, for sure.
So it sounds like you utilize your resources. You know enough in business to say, all right, even though I want this seems to be a better solution. I'm engaging with these people who know a little bit more than I do, but together we're collaborating and making a fantastic product. So we should move forward. That's very good
exactly
life
right.
lesson.
So,
that's very good life lesson.
That's true in life. Yeah, exactly. That is a life lesson. I mean,
it is.
You keep to your strengths and you hire other people to take care of the weaknesses you have, right? And the cost of hiring those people to take care of those weaknesses is less than the cost you'll incur if you try to handle your weaknesses on your own. So you have to recognize what you're strong at and what you're weak at, and you have to get help on the stuff you're weak at, right? And if somebody is a true expert in the field, why wouldn't you listen to them? I mean,
sure.
why would I ignore Manuel Quesada or Ernesto Carrillo or Don Pepin Garcia or Eduardo Fernandez? Why would I ignore what they have to say? I have to listen to them. I mean, I'd be foolish not to. And I've used that in my business life across the board. I mean, when I played basketball, the greatest coach I ever played for was my high school coach. And my high school coach used to, at least once a practice, say, keep to your strengths and stay away from your weaknesses. If you're not a good ball handler, pass the ball to somebody who's a good ball handler. Don't try to be a ball handler, right? If you're not a good post player, don't post up. Play on the wing. I mean, it's very simple. If you're not a good shooter, don't take jump shots. Drive to the basket, right? Same thing in life. You got to recognize where you're strong. You take care of that stuff, and you outsource the rest.
That's why I love talking to you. I get so pumped up. I should call you every morning at 5:30 in the morning and have like fireside chat.
I'll probably still be intoxicated at 5:30 in the morning.
Well, I have a little one, so 5:30 is pretty common.
Yeah, well, I don't, so it's not common for me. No, actually, to be honest with you, I'm up early. I've been sleeping later lately than I normally do. I'm usually up by 6:30 in the morning. Now I'm sleeping till 7:30, 8 o'clock sometimes because I got nowhere to go.
You don't have a commute, right? You don't have a commute.
The commute is I walk downstairs, I go into the kitchen, I make coffee. I go into my office. I have an office in my house. I go into the office. I do my thing. Maybe catch up on some news and do some research. And when I do things like this, I go in my cigar room, which is where I'm at now, and hang out and smoke a cigar.
There you go. Drew, give us some questions. What do we want to talk to Mike about?
Yeah, just well, first of all, Mike, I haven't had anything in your line yet.
Are you serious?
The hell are you
I'm
waiting
serious.
for?
I know.
What the hell are you live in the underground? What are you doing?
Well, because by the time I get down there, it's always I get caught up in conversation, and next thing I know, I forgot my list, and I walk out of there with things that Don has put in my hands and say, "Here, here you go. Get these
try
going."
This. Listen, go down there before they're gone. There's not many left. I made a cigar for that event I did on the 14th with Aganorsa called the Greedy Little Bastards.
Okay.
It's got a cartoon of me and Mark Scott on it. It's pretty funny, but it's a Lancero, and it is. I did it with Aganorsa, and it is awesome. It's an awesome cigar, but they're the only store that has it.
That was my next question. I never heard of it, so it has to be an exclusive. So yeah.
Yeah, So I made a cigar for them. So last year they did a series of cigars based on the 7 deadly sins. Greed and
sloth and
sloth and all that stuff, right? So they gave me Greed because of my Wall Street background. So I did a cigar called Greed for them, and the cigar was so well received, and that was also done with Aganorsa. It was a 6x52 Toro that I did originally. And I said, Don, I always make you a special cigar for this big event in March. What if I did the Greed cigar in the Lancero? He goes, absolutely, we'll do it. So I did the Greed cigar in the Lancero also with Aganorsa. And the Toro was awesome. The Lancero was unbelievable. It was off the charts. It's an off the charts cigar. Drew, you got to go get some. I'm telling you.
No, I got to go. I got to go. I got to call on the ground and get a shipment. I've been chasing some of the Noel Rojas stuff over there too. I gotta call and get him to ship me some stuff for sure.
So Noel's the guy I've talked to actually. He's a relatively he's becoming more and more known. He's doing a great job with the rebranding of his company and all that stuff. He's made great cigars as long as I've known him, but he was very local and not very well known. He's a guy I would make a cigar with, and I've actually talked to him loosely about that too. I would do that with him. He's very good.
You
Yeah,
got to
I
give
had a
him a call,
conversation.
Mike, and tell him to come on Stogie Geeks. I want to interview him because we interviewed him once.
Have you guys asked him? He would do it.
Joe,
Yeah.
Joe,
What?
Joe, I already told you. He already told me just come down to his factory, which is about 15, 20 minutes from my house, and we could do something there from his factory. But yeah, I talking with Noel. I mean, he talked about Mike, about doing some collaborations with Mike and a couple of other fellas, and in that conversation we had, he's like, Drew, just come on down here to my factory. We can do it right here, and so that's already on the books. I think once this COVID-19, gets over the hump.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Because I like, Drew sent me a care package, Mike, from some stuff that he can get that I can't get because of the regions and all that stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, what are these? Are awesome. I'm like, oh my, I like texted him.
They were
I'm like,
Rojas?
Yeah,
it was
blue bonnets.
the blue bonnets. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God.
That's
Like,
black,
I'm like in love with this
Black
guy.
Label, isn't it? Who makes
No,
blue
bonnet. No, that's Noel Rojas.
That's him. Yeah.
It is?
Yeah, blue bonnets, and then the other the statement, which I've been hoarding to myself, and I only have one left, so I'm not sharing that with anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I'm
Somebody
gonna
was
text.
just posting smoking a Lancero that he made recently.
Yeah.
Just
think
today
we
I
did.
saw the post actually.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, that's a cigar I would love to try.
Yeah, the KSG. It's his new KSG line that he's coming out with, which stands for King
I
of
think
Small Gauges.
that's what it was. It was that in a Lancero.
Yes, the King of Small Gauge is what that KSG stands for. And then, but I'm going to text Stacy. I don't know if you know Stacy, but I'm going to text him and have him hook me up with Don's number. I'll get your cigars tomorrow.
Good answer, Drew. That's what I like about you. You're always on the
packs.
case.
They come in 5-pack bundles. The greedy little bastard. They're awesome. I'm telling you.
All right.
That's
Cool.
awesome. Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, my other question is, so, I mean, and you kind of already talked about it, but just coming into the, the blending process with Manuel and Carrillo, on the,
You say that way better than I can.
Carrillo, just reading about the David Erlach line. Is that right? Is that correct?
Yeah, David Pierre. Yep.
Erlich, David P. Erlich, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the Tremont.
That's the original. The original is the David P. Erlich Tremont, and that's the one with the Ecuador Sumatra wrapper.
Okay, yeah, I gotta get my hands on that now. Yeah, because I'm a big fan of the wrapper, of the Mexican San Andreas wrappers myself. So when you were saying that earlier, and I was like, man, that would have been to see that now in the PLM series. Definitely got to get some of those as well, because I just love the full body strength. I mean, I get a lot of stuff from Skip Martin and Steve Saka, and I mean, I love their stuff as far as their heavy full body smokes and the smoke content out of those cigars. But yeah, I'm looking forward to definitely getting some of yours in my hands here in the next 24 hours.
So my cigars, my 5 blends are all 5 of them are different from each other, which is one of the other things, to go back to what Joe asked earlier, which is what's my blending sort of mindset. When I come out with a 6th blend, I don't want it to be like the other 5. I want it to be its own blend. And my goal is to have a cigar. Eventually I have a cigar for everybody. Right. So none of my cigars are actually kick you in the teeth strong. None of them. They're very refined. Even the Islo, which is probably my strongest cigar, is not. It doesn't punch you in the mouth. It's a refined strength. And I like to blend cigars that are very balanced. And are very complex and flavorful. But I don't like strong cigars that just kick you in the teeth and they don't do much of anything else. I like, if I'm going to smoke a strong cigar, it's got to have a lot of complex flavor, and it's got to really please the palate rather than just hit you with strength. There are some companies that do that and sell very well. It's just not my philosophy. So when you smoke my cigars, Drew, for the first time, you're going to notice they're not, even the stronger ones like the Isla are not kick you in the teeth. They're not very out front with the strength, although that is a pretty strong cigar.
Having smoked all of your stuff that was readily available here and not any of the shop exclusive stuff, one of the characteristics I notice of all of your lines or SKUs, right, is that the smoke content and the taste, especially coming from the wrapper portion of it, tends to linger on my palate. Like, we're talking for a while. Like, I can smoke your cigar, and I'm smoking your Islero Funtador size now, and one of the things I've noticed is that it just lingers on your palate. And the PLM series by David P. Ehrlich there really lingers on your palate there in a good way. It's not like one of those sticks that you have to get the flavor whether you retrohale or not. You're like searching for that flavor. That flavor stays with you for a while.
Yeah, that's Manuel Quesada taught me something early on, and he said, we don't blend cigars for intense strength. We blend cigars for intense flavor.
For sure.
And whatever the strength ends up becoming is what it becomes. But we're after flavor, not strength. So that's where that comes from. If you smoke the original Imperia with the blue label, blue band, that wrapper is a very unique wrapper. It's a higher priming of a Dominican HVA variety, which that means that wrapper really hits the palate hard and really lingers. But it gives a very unique flavor profile too. The wrappers, on the Ehrlich, you've got the Sumatra wrapper, which is really where Carrillo made his name back in the 90s with La Gloria Cubana. He was like the king of Sumatra wrappers. He was one of the first to really use that widely. So we wanted to go to his strength with the first release. And then the San Andreas wrapper, to me, just any San Andreas cigar is going to have a very distinct flavor. Like that wrapper to me really has a robust flavor impact on the blend. So it's almost like a cocoa type sweetness along with some strength. So it's one of my favorite wrappers, actually. I go back and I look at my humidor that's here in the room, and the cigars that aren't mine, a lot of them have San Andreas Maduro wrappers on it. So clearly I like the wrapper. Right. So it's to me one of the best wrappers out there. Now that I know people that just don't like San Andreas, and there are people that say I love the Ehrlich, but I don't like the PLM because I don't like San Andreas. That's okay. People are all. I don't expect everyone to like every one of my cigars. In fact, there's nobody that's ever made a cigar that everyone likes, ever. So it's like, if you don't like one of my cigars, you don't like three of my cigars, or maybe you don't like any of my cigars, that's okay. I don't ever get offended because I can't hit every palate yet. My goal is to have enough different blends so I do with at least one of my cigars hit every palate. That's the goal.
That's a super cool goal. Definitely. So I guess the last is you're going to go really light, right?
I'm actually are
you looking at like going at like a complex, because complex Connecticut's is starting to become a thing.
Well, that's what I'm working on. I'm actually working on exactly that kind of blend right now. It's actually pretty much done with Aganorsa.
Yeah, well, your timing is perfect because complex Connecticut's are a thing. I've been saying that since mid 2018 here on Stogie Geeks, and I've been getting into them too. I've been backpedaling off of I want Nicaraguan pepper and I want in your face strength and all of that. I've been backpedaling into the taste. Like, I've been really smoking stuff for taste, especially now with COVID.
I don't like I don't like boring cigars, right? And I don't. And to me, most Connecticut cigars are fairly boring. That's just me. I mean, that doesn't mean they're bad cigars, but if you go back to the Connecticut cigars that were made back in the 80s, 90s, to me they're good, but they're just kind of
flat.
Right. So when I smoke a Connecticut cigar, I want it to have character. I want it to have complexity, and I want it to have a lot of flavor. And so there are a few out there that I really love, which inspired me to want to make one like that. That is a Connecticut cigar that will hit the mild to medium cigar smoker's palate but also when they smoke it, they go, wow, this is not a big fat cigarette. This is actually a really good cigar. And that's kind of how I perceived Connecticut cigars for many years, is that they're just big cigarettes. They don't taste great. And by the way, the first premium cigar I ever smoked was an Ashton Classic Churchill. And it's what got me into loving cigars. So I'm not saying they're bad cigars, but my palate is such that it's evolved to the point where I need to have the cigars have a tremendous amount of flavor. I want them to be, when you smoke them, when you take that smoke in, it really hits a lot of your palate very, very well, and it's very complex.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. So Complex that's Connecticut is coming soon.
Yeah. Well, that's the way I was. That's the way I was too when I first got introduced to some of the Connecticut blends. I was like, man, they're okay, they're big, but the flavor there was just lacking. And then came across Mr. Saka with his Sobremesa. Sobremesa. Oh my gosh. And then I started to understand what he was doing, and I'm thinking, man, if a lot of these Connecticut cigars came out more with the complexity he had, but still have balance, you're going to have a home run in a Connecticut wrapper any time of the day. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, because as my friends who are now getting into the cigars with me, I'm 51. I just turned 51 last week, but
you look great for 60.
I've been smoking cigars off and on since
I'm younger than you are, which is probably shocking to everyone watching right now. I just want to. Wall Street and cigars will age you in dog years.
Drew, finish your thought.
No. What I was going to say, and a lot of my friends who are now coming into the, they always ask me, why do you smoke cigars? What is it about it that you like about it? And of course, like I tell them, it's always, the stick is a great equalizer when you walk into a lounge full of strangers, and then the next thing you know, people start asking what he's smoking, and then that conversation just starts all the way around the room, and then they start talking about the cigar you're smoking, about what their likes and dislikes about it were, and you start to become, basically a student in that lounge, and then after a while, you become the teacher, the educator, with other, like with my friends who are now just getting into the cigar hobby, I guess you want to call it. I don't want to call it an addiction or what have you. But it's more, relaxation, great camaraderie, talking and learning and speaking, and just learning about the sticks itself, learning about
exploring.
The size. You
get to explore.
Yeah. And so with that, like as I tell them, Connecticut blends, if you're going to start, with the cigar, start something in a lighter, but yet get some complexity in there, start to develop your palate to what you like. And then from there, start graduating, and don't be afraid to try some of these, like the Neanderthal. That's, I got to call Skip, because I'm out of them. I got one left, and I like those heavy Ligero sticks, but at the same time, it's refreshing to go back to a Connecticut blend or a Florida Sun Grown, and just kind of start learning and developing my palate to those cigars.
Yeah, one of my favorite pairings in terms of beverages with cigars is actually coffee or espresso. You can see I've been drinking a double espresso. It's empty right now, but for this, because we started this at 1:00, and I mean, even I have to pace myself. So I decided to make a double espresso for this broadcast. And to me, one of the most enjoyable cigars I ever have is the first one of the day with a coffee. And if you have a complex Connecticut or complex milder cigar that may or may not have a Connecticut wrapper on it, then to me that pairing is just unbelievable. It's so enjoyable. Like, I'll give you a couple that I really love. I love the Matilde, and Joe, that my distribution company I own alongside Enrique Cejas, who makes Matilde, and we distribute together. Right. And so he came out with a cigar in 2017 called the Serena, and he handed it to me at the trade show, and I said, well, I'm going to smoke this tomorrow, because I'd already had like 7 or 8 cigars that day, and I'm like, it looks very mild. It's probably a milder cigar. I'm going to have it first thing in the morning when my palate's clean with my coffee. The next morning, I lit that cigar and I walked up to him. I go, Enrique, this is the best cigar you've ever made. It's one of my favorite cigars. And with coffee, that thing is on point. The other one, which isn't actually a Connecticut wrapped cigar, is the Aladino, the original Aladino. That's a 100% Corojo cigar, but that it's a very light Connecticut looking Corojo wrapper. And that's a mild to medium cigar with a lot of character. That's a great cigar.
It is.
So I've grown to like mild to medium cigars more because people are getting creative with them, and they're not boring. They're making them with a lot of character and a lot of complexity, and that's awesome.
Yeah. I've been super excited about some of these complex Connecticut's that are coming out. There, it's refreshing to my palate to enjoy. And first thing in the morning with the coffee is the way to go. For sure. When in the glory days pre-COVID, when I used to go into studio, I go into studio and I open up my computer, and by the time it catches up with the Wi-Fi and location and all of that stuff, I walk over to the espresso machine, make an espresso, go into Paul's Humidor, rate it, and grab something with the coffee.
I got to start doing that when COVID shut down. I want to go into Paul's Humidor and rate it too.
I've been banned from the studio. It's like now it's like I'm walking around with my little Churchill's leather pouch, and I'm getting the cigars I need for the day, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is how like the regular people are. Like I don't like this stuff.
Listen,
I'm used to walking.
I told you I'm getting nervous about my own supply of my own cigars right now here because I can't get them. They're in the Dominican, and the warehouse is shut down. We got nobody working there. So it's like I can't get them. So I've filled some orders with the stock I normally have at my house, and I'm low. I got maybe 4 or 5 boxes of cigars left, and they're not really the size I normally smoke. Like I got a bunch of Gordos and stuff like that, but so I'm kind of rationing myself, and I've been going to other company cigars that I've sort of held on to for a long time. And I've really grown to say, I don't know why I stopped smoking this. I haven't smoked this in a while. I should be smoking this more often because there's a lot of great cigars out there.
Yeah. That reminds me of my pomade story. I ordered pomade.
I can't wait to hear this.
4 weeks ago, and freaking Amazon.
Hair pomade?
Amazon.
Like hair?
Yeah. So the pomade for the hair, and like it's taken 5 weeks to ship, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
I mean,
so I'm like, all right, so like Thursday is when I start to do my hair. Right. And then like Monday I wear a hat, Tuesday I wear a hat. And then, because I'm like rationing out the pomade, you know what I mean? Because it comes from Michigan. And that's a long story.
I've seen you in person an awful lot, right? You must order pomade by a pallet load, right?
I do, man. I do. It's crazy.
I mean, I'm just thinking that I've seen your hair. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot of stuff in there.
There is, and my son, people who follow me like, oh my god, your son's got a gorgeous head of hair. I was like, yeah, that's what my hair looks like if I freaking took all the shit out of it. You know what I mean?
I know. I haven't said curly. This to you. I haven't said this to you yet on this broadcast, Joe, but it's a good thing your son looks like your wife's side of the family because that is a good-looking kid. I got to tell you.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. The last time I interviewed you. Was on Stogie Geeks, so that wasn't my last show. There's an ongoing
in studio,
joke.
Right?
That what? Yeah, I was in studio.
You were in studio.
I was in studio. It was August, and Caden was about to be born in 2 weeks. We were, 2 weeks or so, and whatnot. And you were like, oh God, I can't. And that was 19 months ago. It's crazy how that time flies.
It is crazy. I look back. My company's 7 years old.
Right? It's like it flew by.
How did that happen? I had more. I didn't have quite the big forehead that I have now, and my hair was a little darker. I mean, and I got problems here. I've got to get a cut going soon. I mean, I'm doing what I can with this mop, but it's got to be fixed soon.
No way, man. Let it grow. Throw some pomade in it and raise it higher the hair, closer to God.
Is that your theory?
Yeah, I think you should go for it, Mike. You should walk around.
Listen, the problem is my hair used to go to the side, but I can't do that anymore because I got an issue right in this area that you can't see on camera. That there's less and less hair every day. So I'm doing actually like a sort of comb over where I'm going from the front to back,
Yeah. Well,
and so I'm just going to let this thing grow. I got another month, I figure, before I can even get a haircut. So I'm just going to let it grow, and we're going to see how it works out. I've never grown it for this long.
I think you should. And if you need some pomade, I can ship you some. I have different levels of pomade actually you can use.
You know what's crazy? So my wife was going to Walmart today to pick up some things, and I asked her to get me. I use I forget what it's called, but it's like, it's not pomade. It's actually it's not as thick as pomade, but I use the same. I put it in there. It's been out for like a month. Like, are people hoarding toilet paper and hair product now? What's going on?
It's crazy. I call it like I get mine from it's a pomade factory in Michigan.
Of course you do.
Right?
Of course you do.
And they make small batches, and they're like, we're in the middle of
find a pomade factory in Michigan to get their pomade from? How does that happen? Walk me through that. How did you find this place to get? You're ordering pomade from Michigan.
Yeah, actually, it's crazy. It's it's crazy. And then you go with like a certain oil based pomade and all of that type stuff, and it's crazy.
Listen to this.
It's telling you the story.
Beauty Secrets with Joe Hozempa. New podcast.
Oh, I got a note. Hold on, I got a note from you. You can use Crisco if you run out of pomade, Mike.
Who said that, Uncle Stevie?
Maybe.
Rumor has it.
Rumor has it.
Listen,
you can use Crisco.
Whoever that happens to be that's there, just tell him I said hi and I miss him.
I will. He says hi and he misses you. He hopes to give you a hug someday, or a social distance bump, or whatever the hell we're going to be allowed to do.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing. Apparently, handshaking's out. That's gone.
Apparently, handshaking's out. Do the fist bump. I'm
going full Asian. I'm just going to start bowing to people.
I don't know. It's just. It's ludicrous, right? It's ludicrous. What we're going through and the methodology, it's just all ludicrous.
There's actually almost like an airy sort of horror movie type of feel when you go outside these days. I have an office up in Braintree, Mass, which is about just under 20 minutes from my house. And I'm considered an essential worker because I'm still involved in the finance industry, and finance employees are essential. So I have my letter in my car and I can drive wherever I want to drive, right? When I would go into that office before, it's 20 minutes it's about 17 minutes without traffic. But it could take me an hour, right? Because of traffic. 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. It's really crazy, the traffic to get going towards Boston when it's rush hour. Now I could drive anywhere. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like it's scary. I don't like it. I used to complain about traffic. I want traffic again. I mean, I miss it. We had to pick my daughter up in Savannah because she was going to Savannah College of Art and Design, and they shut down their school and all that stuff. And she's doing online classes at home now, and all the stuff that all the colleges are doing. And it was sort of like a rushed thing where we had to go down and get her. And we had to get all of her stuff. So we drove down. To drive from here to Savannah, it should take us a lot longer than this, but we hit no traffic, and we were there in 14 and a half hours.
Wow.
Straight through. Yeah. And that included stopping for gas, lunch, bathroom breaks, whatever. 14 and a half hours. It was unbelievable.
Yep. Savannah is at least a 19-hour drive. I drive down to Hilton Head every year. I drive down to Hilton Head, and it's about 17 and a half hours. So
and Savannah's about an hour, not quite an hour past that.
Yep, absolutely. That's a fun town, Savannah, Georgia. That's what I would like to do post-COVID. Yeah. Mike, us reunited in Savannah, Georgia. That's a great town, man.
Well, here's
we
what
can
I
walk around, drinks in our hand and everything. I mean,
they have one of the three largest St. Patrick's Day parades in the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know this, but they are. It's Dublin, and one of the four. Dublin, Boston, Savannah, and New Orleans, which New Orleans always has big parties. So those are the four big ones. I'm sure there's some others as well that maybe are in that mix, but they canceled it this year. And we actually drove down on St. Patrick's Day to get my daughter. So we get there, and Savannah wasn't shut down yet. Like, they still had bars open, and it wasn't as crowded as it normally be, but these bars were crowded. We went out to eat at a restaurant with my daughter, and there was people at the table. I mean, there was a lot of people out. And when we went out with to get a drink afterwards, and we didn't go into a bar, but in Savannah you can walk around with open containers fine. And there's like bars that you walk in and they're to-go bars. You could order a drink and then bring it outside with you. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
And hung out with the parents of one of her college roommates. And we're looking around and I'm going, wow. I mean, you would think nothing was going on in Savannah. Like they were having a party. It was a party going on. And it was crazy.
That's one hell of a town, man. I love that town.
It sure is.
You know,
it's fun.
It definitely is. Well, Mike, last time we interviewed you was 19 months ago, so please don't be a stranger to Stogie Geeks at all. And hopefully,
listen, whenever you want me.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time and again, thank you for sponsoring me in the beginning and everything that you've done to allow me to be here. So I really appreciate
it
from the bottom of my heart.
You've been gracious to me, and I appreciate it.
You know, definitely. And I wish you much success with your future blends, and I can't wait to try them. And I'm going to try to get a hold of the Underground. So tell him that if this pomade guy keeps friending him on Facebook, and from the Northeast and wants some cigars, it's me. So tell him I'll be contacting him today.
They'll send them to you.
You know,
I mean,
I know he will. Yeah.
They've been shipping so much product. He takes pictures of all the boxes they pack every day to ship out. I mean, there's nothing like the Underground. It's such a unique place. I mean, Drew knows. Drew mentioned Michael's and Euless, right? Michael's and Euless is a great place, tremendous place. I go there every time I'm in the area. But Michael's and Euless and the Underground are diametrically opposed in terms of the atmosphere. There's no doubt about that. There's nothing like the Underground.
Awesome. Nothing like the Underground. And I'll tell you, I like when Don posts his pictures of the mail truck backing up, and it's just loaded up with a bunch of boxes, a lot of shipments going out, and you can just see the look on the post person's face, like, what is this?
It's crazy. They're used to it now.
It is.
I mean, they know now. I think they more or less they take a truck there every day, just like a UPS on a regular pickup. They're like the postal services there like every day going to pick stuff up. It's crazy.
Well, that's good that he's able to keep his business going in this. It shows from a business standpoint that, you know, the more creative you get and the more products that you can get and the more customer following you can have for your brick and mortar, it's probably a good lesson to have, especially.
And I think that's going to be one of the big key changes to the retail industry too. The brick and mortars are all going to have a bigger online presence. There's no doubt in my mind. They've all learned that you have to have an online presence so that if something like this happens, you can still maintain a semblance of your business.
Yeah, I've been saying that forever, both for businesses, both in and out of the industry, just saying like you have to have an online presence. You have to move forward. And now it's how we began this interview. It's kind of forcing them to get there faster, you know? So
no
definitely.
Doubt. And for anyone that's listening, now is a time where you have to support your local retailers. Please go out. Yes. If you need cigars, go get them from your local retailers. They need it more than ever, or else they're not going to be there. And so these are small mom and pop shops. They're not necessarily these massive companies with a lot of money. Go and support your local retailer. Almost all of them are doing curbside or mail order or whatever they're allowed to do in their particular jurisdiction. But please support them. They need it.
Absolutely. Stogie Geeks, we're going to take a quick break. Mike, I want to thank you for appearing on Stogie Geeks. I appreciate it always. Thank you very much for all of you have done for me personally and for getting me started, and I really appreciate that. Don't be a stranger to Stogie Geeks. Any type of press release, please send it to us. Any product announcements there, and we will speak to you soon. Stogie Geeks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Drew and I are going to do Sticks of the Week. We will be right back.
Confidence. Confidence isn't walking into a room with your nose in the air, thinking you're better than anyone else. It's walking into a room and not having to compare yourself to anyone in the first place.
Welcome back to episode 326 of Stogie Geeks. I'm your host, Joe Zempa. I'm joined by remote. Actually, I'm joining Stogie Geeks by remote too, but also joined by remote is Drew, our little dark-haired boy from Texas. We are going to talk about the stick of the week. And this week, the stick is the Plasencia Reserva Original in the Cortez size. That's a 5 3/4 by 56. Drew, what's going on, bud?
Not much. It's starting to get really cold up here. We're getting a cold front right now, so I'm outside in the garden, and I'm starting to get a little bit of frostbite on the nose. So, but yeah, yeah, but no, it's good. It's good. It's supposed to be what 80 Monday or Tuesday, something like that, something crazy. So here we are.
We have like 37 now, and it's going to be cold front today and tomorrow, and then go back to our normal range, which is 50. So there you go.
50. So 50 for us is cold.
Yeah, there you go. So the Plasencia stick of the week. We are continuing our series. This week we're going to take some time out and talk about the original Reserva in the Cortez size. I like this stick. Again, this is a 5 3/4 by 56. Just to let you know, the Plasencia line is available in 7 different sizes. You have a 7 by 48, 6 1/4 by 44, a 5 3/4 by 56. That's the Cortez size that we are going to take some time out and talk about today. 4 1/2 by 36. 6 3/16 by 52. Love the sizes, right?
Yes.
4 3/4 by 52 and 6 by 50. All different sizes. You get a different experience when you actually go through the different blends and sizes. This here, it's not quite a 60 ring gauge. However, it is the thickest of the ring gauges there, so there's going to be more of the binder and the filler component there. But also the size there, I don't know. To me, when I was reviewing the stick and smoking the stick, it reminded me of an opportunity for you to consider as a celebratory stick there, right? It wouldn't possibly be a normal go-to because of its size there and because of its odd shape, as opposed to, a conventional Churchill or Toro or Robusto size. But it's definitely a super cool size. There it has a little pigtail on top. You can just pick right off and light it up and enjoy.
I love pigtails.
You
could just buy it. You could just chomp it right off, take off that band at the end, and light that baby, fired it right up.
Absolutely. Actually, pigtails are like the bite-off beginner stick, right? It allows you to do it in better fashion than just chomping it and then going for it. Just to let you know, this cigar is obviously made in the Plasencia factory down in Nicaragua. Wrapper, binder, filler are all Nicaraguan. Its strength profile, it's not a super strong stick. It's a medium there. One of the things that I noticed there right off the bat is you get a little bit of a caramel flavor with some cedar there, obviously, because the wrapper tends to run a little bit light in regards to some of the other offerings from Plasencia. And I got a little bit of nuttiness there for sure.
Yeah, definitely the cedar does come through on that, Joe, as you were just saying, and then the fruits, the dry. I call it more the dry fruits. Kind of a date, so to speak, with the pitted, what I call the pitted fruit, and then definitely you get the what they describe as marzipan, and that right there, just delicately hits combines well with the caramel.
Yeah, Cigar Journal gave it a 90 I mean, I would agree with that. You know, it's not it's not one of the most complex offerings there. But however, you know, it's a super cool stick. If you have someone who's kind of introducing themselves, if they're new to cigars, it's a great stick for you to offer them for them to try. And because of its size, I don't know, it just seems to stand out within that Cortez size. That makes me kind of think of it as a little bit of a celebratory stick for sure, as opposed to an everyday stick.
Yeah, when I first looked at this stick, when I first got it in my hands a while ago, it reminded me of a longer Zeppelin, you know, just you know, the larger size Zeppelin, because it's just kind of thick on the ends. It tapers off in the beginning, tapers off in the end into the pigtail, and so from there you just the flavors just start to really and the aromas come through nicely throughout the cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. Stogie Geek rating, what would you give it?
Oh yeah, this is a box for me. I like this because again, you can share the cigar with everybody. When I do boxes, I get them in the intention of sharing them with my fellow lounge members or just friends who come over and smoking the cigar with me. But yeah, I definitely give this a box worthy for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I would too. I'd give it a box, but because I would split it with a friend, I'd give it a box split with a friend. That's my final rating. You know, absolutely.
Nice.
Cool. Awesome. Drew, what else have you been smoking? I know under these, my smoking pattern has certainly changed, right? I'm not going into the studio. I'm working from home. My cadence in cigars have come down significantly. I have a little one at home as well, so I'm not going to just rip out a cigar and start doing that. So, you know, I've been smoking cigars during nap time, not mine, his. So, so you know, that limits me to at least a Robusto or maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a Toro. But most of my go-tos lately have been either Toro or Robusto size.
Yeah, I've been keeping it in the Robusto line for sure. I mean, my cigar count is lowering every week. I mean, I have about 125 to 150 on a rotation of many different cigars. But my Robusto sizes are just about depleted. Everything else I have in my box is going to be either larger gauge or, you know, the Lancero gauge. But yeah, so other than that, I get what you mean. I'm down to about 30 cigars right now. Is what I got left in my humidor. So I got to go pay my lounge a visit. Yeah, and I've actually been only smoking maybe, I'm gonna say one a day. I would say at this point. Sometimes I'll be able to sneak in two on a Sunday if I'm watching a movie or something out here in the patio, and then and then from there just kind of, you know. And otherwise, I just do my one a day, and that's pretty much it. That's all I got time for at this point. But my next cigar I've been smoking is the Mi Querida Tricky Traca from Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. One of my favorite cigars. You know, Steve Saka, you know, hit it out of the park with this one as well. This cigar here is a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, Nicaraguan binder, Nicaraguan and Dominican Ligero long fillers. The cap is fused, and the cap is formed into a fuse. So I sometimes I'll do a straight cut on this. Lately, I've been doing my deep V cuts, and just to get it going pretty well and get to my favorite Ligero blend within that cigar. As far as you can expect, you know, a peppery right off the bat. It's very bold.
Keep it on.
What's that?
Nope. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No. Sorry. Yeah, it's very peppery, bold, leather spice, earth is what you'll get out of this cigar. Again, it's one of my favorite go-tos from Steve Saka's line. Just, you know, this cigar here, I give it a box split as well.
And can you repeat the blend for those of you who are listening at home?
Yeah, so it's a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, Nicaraguan binder, Nicaraguan and Dominican Ligero long fillers.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, I've been getting into this week a ton when I say a ton, I'm talking 4, right? The My Father LeBeju 1922.
Oh yeah.
I've been into that Petite Robusto. That's a 4.5 by 50. I did have the Toro this morning, a 6 by 52. It's available in a Grand Robusto Churchill and a Torpedo box press, as well as a Corona Gorda. But I'm really digging the Petite Robusto and the Toro. Everything's in regular production with My Father Cigars. Your wrapper is a Honduran. Your wrapper is a Nicaraguan Habano Oscuro, and your binder and filler is a Nicaraguan. What I'm noticing there now is because it's I'm not in studio and having cigar cadence kind of be it's just a little bit lowered. It's not by much. Sure. I mean, I'm still having a cigar or 2 daily and whatnot. It's different when they're not readily available. As I was explaining in our interview on the first segment with Mike Bellody, now I have my cigar pouch here, and like I'm picking my sticks for the day that I'm gonna have for the day, as opposed to having the luxury of walking in the studio, opening up a humidor, and figuring it out. So it is a little bit different with these, but as I've been dubbing stay-at-home problems, right? You with your beard, me with my pomade, and now me with my cigar case, right? It's the new normal. It's the new normal. Yes. It's like how everybody else smokes, right? You don't have the luxury of just being in front of a humidor or having Havana Cigars, our sponsor, right next door, and just being able to walk the next suite over and have 600 facings every day. It's a much different world. It's a much different world we live in, I'll tell you. But in regards to the My Father LeBeju 1922, what I'm finding out is now when I'm smoking, I'm just, because life has slowed down naturally, right? I'm taking time to really just smoke slower. I know I'm smoking a Petite Robusto or Robusto during the day while my son's napping, or I'm going for a walk at night there. And the weather here in the Northeast is spotty, right? We have 30-degree days and 50-degree days. So if it's a 30-degree days, I'm not walking out at night. I'll just wait till the next day. It is what it is. But what I've been pulling out is the actual nuances of the cigar. And what I'm liking here is that, it's a smooth, nutty flavor that has an increase of pepper as time goes on. And if you retrohale it, smoke it slow, it's a super cool stick that I've kind of become accustomed to this week. I've been going through the lines there. I've had the La Promisea, and I've had the Judge by them as well this week. Yeah. But to me, the LeBeju 1922 is really where it's at. I'd give it a box worthy all day.
Nice. Yeah, that's a very nice cigar. I've had that cigar many times this past year cycle in the year, and I have to agree with you there. That's definitely a box-worthy cigar. It definitely it stays consistent, if anything, and the smoke content on it's just really, wonderful. So, agree with you there, definitely, sure.
What else have you been smoking?
So what I'm smoking is what I'm smoking right now, or what I've been smoking was what I'm smoking right this minute.
Nice.
Is the New World Puro Especial by AJ Fernandez. And again, as I said last year or earlier this year, back in January, I thought the New World San Lotano should have been a cigar of the year. That was mine. I'm still on that drum. So by AJ Fernandez, handcrafted. It's crafted with 100% Cuban Nicaraguan tobaccos. It's wrapped in a smooth, it says oily wrapper. The wrappers I've gotten were just a little bit, just slightly oil, not too much. But I've seen some that were oily for sure. I'm not sure if that's based on because of the humidor where I picked them up at, or based on my humidor here at the house. So these blends are specifically and specially handpicked throughout Fernandez's different farms located in Esteli, all of which have been aged from 3 to 5 years. So this cigar, it's definitely multi-layered. It's got it's complex in itself. This cigar, you definitely want to take your time with. Don't rush it. I go to it every 2.5 to 3 minutes with whatever I'm sipping. But you can expect to get some very good notes of spice. You'll get the dried fruit in there for sure. You'll get some almonds, the creaminess of almonds in there. And then you'll kick back and forth between the cocoa and the leather. The cocoa seems to be really come through in the second third into the last third of the cigar. Otherwise, this cigar, I take them down to the nubs. I just love these New World cigars. These I'm always boxing these. I'm always buying them by the box. I enjoy them. I hoard them for myself and myself only. Sometimes my friends, they want me to share with them, and I'm like, yeah, okay, well, give me one of your Cohiba Spectras or what have you, and I'll trade you.
There you go.
Otherwise, these are a very good smoke to have in your cigar in a rotation. I just like to have these at least once, sometimes twice a week. But it's I got the 7x52 ring gauge. Wrapper on this is going to be Nicaragua Habano. Binder is going to be Nicaraguan Habano, and then filler Nicaragua. Full strength wrapper shade EMS. But otherwise, it's a poodle through and through, and you can't go wrong with a cigar. I like to have these cigars midday, towards the evening. This is not something I would have with one of my coffees in the morning, but definitely it is a nice cigar to come home to. As you're driving home, you're like thinking, I don't know if you're like me. I'm thinking when I get home after I've done the honeydews, which cigar I'm going to pull out of the humidor and go out in the patio, in the cigar and enjoy.
Yeah. I go through my day like that too, like where I'm like, I'm going to smoke this today, whatever it may be in there. And that's just how it works. In the morning, when in the glory days, when I used to go in the studio, I used to just let the humidor speak to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or in the afternoon, if I walk over to Havana Cigar Club or whatever, and let it speak to me and stuff like that. But now it's like I've been saying, oh, I gotta go. I've been kind of picking and choosing my sticks and there. But yeah, at nighttime, I do get like, oh wow, or this weekend I have I don't have one this weekend, but we have an event coming up with a barbecue and we're going to be outside. I'm going to smoke this because, it's going to give me, I pick it because of time, like I don't want to go to a party, a barbecue and smoke a 2-hour stick and be antisocial. You know what I mean? So I'll have a Robusto and kind of balance the time and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm certainly just like you in that regards where I pick and choose what I, what size and which cigar I'm kind of having a hankering for sure.
Yeah. This cigar, by box, if you buy a box of 20, you can expect to get it about $180. Yep. Of course, if you're a member at a lounge, you'll probably get the 10. Sometimes, whatever the discount that they have there for the members. But this box here, like I said, it's beautiful. It's the cigars, and they keep real nice. I just put them in my I got one of those cigar refrigerator type humidors for my boxes, and then I have my desktop humidor where I keep the stuff that I know I just go to my what do you call that, cigar refrigerator, and pick out the smokes out of there, then transfer them over to my humidor, and then from there I kind of know where I'm going that week and what notes I'm looking forward to as I get into that stick.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your final rating on that?
Box. Yeah, definitely box.
Box. Really. Yeah. Duh. Oh, yeah. I was sorry. I was zoning off. I got remote show fatigue. You know what I mean? Like I'm remote and it's so different from studio. It makes me appreciate studio and Johnny's hospitality for sure.
But you're becoming you're becoming more like myself, where the setup only takes me about 5 minutes. Where when I first started this show last year, it's going to be a year here coming up, and I remember
wild.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like, wow. I remember it used to take me like 25 minutes. I used to go to the bathroom and just kind of throw a few shadow boxes, nice. To get pumped up, and then And now it's nice, you know.
You're coming up on a year already?
Coming up on a year, my friend.
Wow, I think, what do we have, like another 4 weeks or something like that? Or not even?
Not even. I think just a couple of weeks away, and that's it. It was towards the end
Oh,
of
we
April.
got to do something for your year.
Yes,
we got to do
are.
something for, oh my God, a year. Oh, my, that's so crazy. That time flies when you're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you this question. Are you having fun?
I'm having a very great time, learning, just getting used to being in front of the camera and just speaking more fluently versus the uhs and ums. I know they still pop in every once in a while, but other than that, it's been a blast, and it's going to continue being a blast. I'm looking forward to what we got planned for the rest of 2020 and beyond.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, we got some super cool interviews coming up, Stogie Geeks. We have Newman's coming, JC Newman, Eric Newman. So that's coming up soon with an interview. And also
Alec and Bradley.
Yes, Alec and Bradley. I'm super pumped for that interview as well. So Stogie Geeks, we got some more. We got Noel Rojas coming aboard as well. Drew's got that in the making. Once COVID is passed and he can go, he's actually going to go down to the factory there and do an episode of Stogie Geeks. So he'll be remote. Hopefully I won't be remote, but I probably will be remote. Who knows? But we'll have to figure that out as we get there.
You're becoming a pro, or you are a pro now.
Yeah, I don't know about that. In regards to the oohs and ums, I've been saying that for years. So don't worry about that. It's all good, Drew. I can't believe it's been a year already. That is wild.
I remember that email I shot you about pairing with coffees at one of my favorite joints that I really miss. My wife and I miss going down to Hugo's over here in Las Colinas and enjoying the drinks and enjoying the patio, and just enjoying all the beautiful surrounding area there. It's got a little lakefront property, a little lake that's called Lake Caroline or something like that. But yeah, it's just nice. It's a nice place to just be, and people always like Mike Bellody was just saying, when you're smoking a cigar, people come up and they're like, "What are you smoking?" And what is that? And where can I get it? And it's pretty neat. Definitely an equalizer.
Man, I miss those days. I'm not gonna lie.
Me either.
But we will get there for sure someday, right? Someday. Final stick I want to talk about. I've been really into to this stick over the past 5 weeks of self-isolation or stay at home or whatever. It's the Davidoff Nicaragua Robusto. This here, the wrapper is a Nicaragua Rosado wrapper. Your binder is Nicaraguan from the Jalapa Valley, and your filler is Nicaragua from Esteli, Ometepe. And let me tell you something. This is a 5x50 ring gauge. Awesome stick. I mean, you're going to get, right off the bat, you're going to get a pleasant blast of pepper coming right up. The Rosado wrapper really has a sweetness to it for subtlety, as subtle as a true Nicaraguan smoke can get from the Jalapa Valley. But you get a sweetness from the Rosado wrapper. You get little notes of cream there. If you don't retrohale, if you retrohale, I think for my palate, cream goes out the window there. Yeah. But you do get a smoothness, a little bit of leather component towards the end. I bullet cut it. I sit down when my son's napping, and I've been enjoying those. I've been going and getting 5 or 6 at a time for sure. But in regards to Stogie Geek rating, box worthy all day. And that was the Davidoff Nicaragua Robusto.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Drew, we got a couple of interviews coming up over the next couple of weeks. Looking forward to that. Stogie Geeks, I want to encourage you that if you want to check out today's stick of the week, the Plasencia Reserva Original, all you have to do is go to stogiegeeks.com, click on the banner page, type in your zip code, the banner that has Plasencia cigars on it, type that in, and from there you can find a retailer near you. Get out there and support your local brick and mortars, especially during this time. Drew, I want to ask you to stay safe.
Yes.
And stay safe and enjoy your time with your grandson. I know you've been catching him and whatnot. So, yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Stogie, anything else you want to say before I wrap up?
Yeah, I was gonna say tomorrow we start the bandana phase, of this pandemic, where if you got to go somewhere, you got to start wearing a cover. And so
Yeah.
this morning, my wife and I, as you saw the Facebook post that we posted this morning,
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
before we went out. Yeah, she's like, "Do you have some for me?" I'm like, "Sure." I went to my biker closet and picked out some of the face coverings that we wear when we're on a road trip, and so that was kind of fun. And she's picking out some of the other ones there that she likes. But yeah, we're getting into that phase now where it looks like the curve is starting to flatten a little bit. I know the guys in New York, man. I feel for my buddies there in New York because, the fear that's there, but God willing, all this will pass sooner than later. And I'm just, like I tell everybody, just be safe out there. Use common sense. Do all the things that that your local government and what is respect for your fellow human being. Just do that, and everybody will be fine. I think at the end of the day, for those who, for those. I mean, I had some friends of friends who have lost their battle with that, but they had some underlying issues. But nonetheless, this is a good time to check, yourself, and just kind of, just be just be kind to your fellow human being and move forward, and definitely support your brick and mortar shops. Everybody is offering curbside. They'll mail you the cigars. Just got to call them up or go through their portal and order your cigars, and we'll keep smoking.
Yeah. Keep smoking and be patient and be nice to yourselves and each other. And that's I guess that's the best advice that I can give. I mean, we just have to be as patient as we can, be safe,
Sure.
and and we'll come out of this hopefully sooner than later. And unfortunately, like we said in the beginning of this episode, when we were interviewing with Mike Bellody, it's like, some brick and mortars and some businesses just might not be able to weather the storm. Just try your best, do your best, and pivot. That's what owning a small business is all about, is pivoting and trying to navigate through these crazy waters. And hopefully we'll see what goes on and what the future brings. But by far, a lot of businesses will be scarred from this for sure. Or hopefully they can make it. And I want to encourage the Stogie Geek listener. Thank you for listening and watching. And I want to ask that you're out there using common sense and being safe. Remember, we keep the conversation going all week long. You go to StogieGeeks.com. You can follow Drew and I on Facebook. If you want to email Drew, it's drew@StogieGeeks.com. I'm Joe H. at StogieGeeks.com. Tell your friends about the podcast. We got a couple of cool interviews coming up for sure. I want to remind you that behind every cigar is a story worth knowing. Get out there and shop local and support your local brick and mortar businesses. Special thank you to Placencia Cigars, McAuliffe Cigars, Havana Cigar Club, and JC Newman.
Yes.
Stogie Geeks. We'll see you next time. Peace. Be safe.